Today we are in search of the elusive unit circle. This creature seems confusing and is often misunderstood, but it is really a quite simple beast. My goal today is to try to find one and help explain this magnificent animal to you. Although it is not dangerous, I will be bringing this almost comical weapon with me, just in case. I think I've spotted one. It seems to be in some sort of ESPN-induced coma. Let's see if we can get a closer look. It's just a baby unit circle, still missing many of its degrees, points, and radians. However, this does give you a very simple look at this very basic creature. Let me see if I can explain a full unit circle for you. The unit circle is, as its name states, most basically a circle. It is made up of 16 points. Count them, 16. We'll start discussing the unit circle with the degrees. It is made up of an x-axis, which goes across here, and a y-axis going across here. You start the unit circle on the far right with 0 degrees. The next point, going counterclockwise, is up top, 90 degrees. 90 degrees. Continuing to go counterclockwise all the way to the left is 180 degrees. 180 degrees. The last of the 4 main points is at the very bottom, 270 degrees. 270 degrees. Which brings you full circle to back where you started, 360 degrees. 360 degrees. After that, the next points follow the same pattern all the way around the circle. You start by adding 30, then add 15, then add 15, then add one more 30. There's a little song I like to use to remember this. Add 30, add 15, add 15, add 30. So using that beautiful song, we can start filling in our degree points. Add 30, 30 degrees. Add 15, 45 degrees. Add 15, 60 degrees. And add 30, 90 degrees. We can use the same pattern all the way around. So we have 120 degrees, 135 degrees, and 150 degrees. Then we have 210 degrees, 225 degrees, 240 degrees, and then 270 degrees. In the last quadrant, we go 300 degrees, 315 degrees, 330 degrees, and finish up with 360 degrees. We figured out those degrees faster than a thermometer. Where's that coming from? Up next is the radians. These can be a little trickier, but again, if you learn the first quadrant, there's a basic pattern that repeats all the way around. The first one is pi over 6. The second one is pi over 4. The third one is pi over 3. Now, if you notice, the denominators are 6, 4, 3, and these will be the same all the way around the circle if you start from the x-axis and work up or down. For example, here, the denominator will be 6, here, the denominator will be 4, and here, the denominator will be 3. Here, the denominator will be 6. Here, the denominator will be 4. And here, the denominator will be 3. And lastly here, denominator 6. Here, denominator 4. And here, denominator 3. Here's another song I used to remember that. 6, 4, 3, 6, 4, 3, unit circle I know thee. Oh boy. Make sure you don't forget the radians for the 4 basic points like I just did. That could get you in big trouble. But they're quite simple. They just go in intervals of pi over 2. So you start with 0. Up top you have pi over 2. Add another pi over 2 and you just get pi. Add another pi over 2 and you get 1.5 pi, or simply 3 pi over 2. And add another half pi and you finish up with 2 pi. Good thing the math police didn't catch me back there. I'm already in pretty big trouble for drawing a unit circle on my dad's head and pretending he was an animal. Now it's time to start filling in the numerators. And although there is no basic pattern, like everything else we've covered so far, there is some very easy ways to remember it. First of all, they're all going to have pi in the numerator. Other than that, you're going to start in your first quadrant, it's just pi. In your second quadrant, you're just going to take your numerator, or your denominator, minus 1. So here we have 6. So our numerator will be 5 pi. Here we have 4. So our numerator will be 3 pi. And here we have 3. So our numerator will be 2 pi. In the third quadrant, you're going to add 1 to your denominator. So here you have 6. Our numerator will be 7 pi. Here we have 4. Our numerator will be 5 pi. And here we have 3. So our numerator will be 4 pi. The fourth quadrant isn't quite as simple, but there is a pattern. You take your denominator times 2 and subtract 1. So here we have 3 times 2 would be 6, minus 1 would be 5 pi. 4 times 2 is 8, minus 1 is 7 pi. And 6 times 2 is 12, minus 1 is 11 pi. We learned those radians faster than a radian learner. Really? Really, creepy people in my house? You like that one? You're dumb. The last thing we have to know for our unit circle is the ordered pairs. These are by far the easiest if you can just memorize the first quadrant. The first thing you need to know for your ordered pairs is they're like every other x and y axis you've ever seen. If you go to the right and up, it'll be positive, positive. If you go to the left and up, it'll be negative, positive. If you go to the left and down, it'll be negative, negative. And if you go to the right and down, it'll be positive, negative. Remember this, and you'll do fine. The second thing you need to know is that every single denominator on every single point for every ordered pair is over 2. Every single one. So we can start putting our ordered pairs in, just putting the denominator over 2. And I think I have a little tool that will speed this process up. I call it my denominator over 2 5,000. All you have to do is give it a little bump, and every single denominator should be 2. Luckily, my denominator 2 5,000 knew not to put the 4 main points in, because those are quite simply 1, 0, 0, 1, -1, 0, and 0, -1. Every other point is denominator 2. Now comes the tiny bit you have to memorize. For every for every denominator that's 6, your points will be radical 3 over 2 and 1/2. So here's a denominator 6. It'll be radical 3 over 2 and 1/2. Here's a denominator 6. Radical 3 over 2 and 1/2. And here's our last denominator 6. Radical 3 over 2 and 1/2. The pi over 3's will be the exact opposite. So there'll be 1/2 radical 3. 1/2 radical 3. 1/2 radical 3. And lastly, 1/2 radical 3. And then the pi's over 4, they're the same, just radical 2 over 2, radical 2 over 2. So we could fill those in all the way around. Radical 2 over 2, radical 2 over 2, radical 2 over 2, radical 2 over 2, and radical 2 over 2, radical 2 over 2. Then the last thing you have to do is to just fill in the signs. So here we have plus plus, so those will all be good. Here we have negative plus, so negative plus, negative plus, negative plus, negative plus. Here we have negative negative, so negative, 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 negative. And then in our last quadrant we have positive negative. So positive negative, positive negative, positive negative. And there you have it, the unit circle. Thank you.
Ooh, baby, do you know what that's what?